Alright, on this episode we're going to be dealing with the old Caprice here. As you can see, my dash is dead. That's not good. I can't tell how fast I'm going. So we're going to try and get to the bottom of what's going on there. Most likely it's a connection issue between the screen and the dash in the back, so we may have to reflow some solder joints and or convert it to using wires. I don't know. We'll see what happens. See how bad it is back there. It does work because it comes on occasionally, but yeah, so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take this whole binnacle out here, cover piece, the plastic piece, and then the cover over the gauge cluster here. And in order to do that, you need a 7mm socket wrench. That's it, really. So we're going to set the tilt steering wheel all the way down, and we're going to put this guy into drive something or other. Sorry, parking brake. Turn this off. Oh, no, I guess will do this. That'll shut it up. So, there are, to get the first piece of the puzzle out here, this black plastic trim ring. There's two 7mm bolts, one here, and one over here. Take her out. Okay. There it goes. It's two. Now there's two clips down here, so just kind of pulls out gently like that. Now the one side is broken on mine. I don't know what happened, but you can see these little clips that hold it in. You have 3 clips and 2 centering pins. Now, somebody took this apart on my car a while ago, and well, they broke this one, and they broke this one. So this is the only one that holds it in on the bottom, unfortunately. I don't know who did that originally, but who knows? I mean, it was apparently only dealer service throughout its life, so it's probably a dealer. Alright, now I forgot that I need a Torx bit for this, so I'm going to go grab one of them, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is a T15. That's what we'll be using to take the 8 screws out around the outside of this. So be careful, don't put a lot of torque on this. It's 90s GM plastic, so it's going to be brittle. Just little screws like this. You can use a hex head on them, but they have a Torx, T15 Torx in the middle of it. And the last one over here in the corner. Alright. Okay, so now this is our glass piece, or well, plastic. You can see it's has a little crack there, and it's kind of scuffed. This piece comes out around here as well. Like so. So that goes like that. Now we have this guy here. Alright. Now, here's our screen. And one of the things we have to do is actually take this out. And I forgot that we have to put that back in the drive. I gotta get under here and get this panel out because I need to take this little, there's a little line here, and that's connected to the the shift lever, so it pulls the park neutral, drive low, reverse indicator here. And there's 2 screws under here. Get this out of the way. this just comes out like that. Oh no. Big plate in the way. I'm just forgetting about everything today. There are 4 10mm screws under this. You need to slide this thing in a direction so that it'll come out. Like that. Alright, that's out of there now. Right here is a little clip. You can see it up in there. There's the clip for the cable. So this just comes off. It just pushes into this socket, like on the collet out on the outside of the steering column here, and you just kind of push it out, and then it hangs. And then if we come back up here, since this isn't held in by any more screws anymore, we can actually just nicely pull it out. Okay, see? There you go. Now on some cars this is actually screwed in place. There's a screw that goes through this. On this car that's not how it works. Now here's our screen. You can see it takes the same T15 as the bolts that surround it. Now what I'm going to do is actually put the keys back in it. And try to see if I push on it, it comes back. And now it's working again. It's a little hard to read, but you can see it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off again, and we're going to check the pins behind it, and we'll show you that in a second, how this actually interfaces. Okay, so the screen is held on by, again, 4 T15 Torx bolts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check it to make sure that these are tight first, because maybe that's our problem. But and that one was a little loose. Same deal. These are pretty good. They're not super loose, but let's see if I tap on this a little. It seems to be working. Let's turn it off. Well, I don't know if I want to take it apart or if I just want to leave it there. I probably should take it apart and see what's going on, because there's probably something not good happening. These are copper screws. I'm not sure why. I don't know whether they provided ground or... because it's just going into a plastic piece, so... don't know why they used copper screws. I mean, the pins must be working pretty well because it pushed it out. But maybe we got one that's stuck down a little bit. Okay. Now, if you see these guys here, this is the pad. Not all of these are used on this, guy. But, those little, there's these little fingers in here. These guys. And they connect it, they make connections to this here on the circuit board. So what we might have to do, because I didn't do the greatest job building the solder up here on these last time. I may have to just take a little file or something and smooth this out. But I was having a problem with this pin right here. And I've continuously had a problem with this pin making a connection to this screen. It looks pretty good at the moment. It's sticking out pretty at the same depth as the other ones, but I did end up putting, you can see if you could feel this, I did end up putting a little bit more solder on that just to try and make the contact a little bit better. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a file and just kind of like file these a little bit smoother, and then I'll try and put it back in and see if it works a little better. Actually, there's also a pin set down here too. You can see there's two sets, one up here, one up there. So I believe that it's this pin and this pin are responsible for our main power, because if you see the contact tracing are the largest. Maybe this is a ground up here on this guy. You can see that traces all the way outside and around. But maybe this is main power, I don't know. But I need a wiring schematic to find out. But I'm just going to file this just a little bit to make it a little bit smoother, because I definitely didn't make this as nice as I could have. So let me get a file real quick and then we'll work on it. Alright, so I'm just sitting here filing some of these contacts down a little bit. Because I did reflow some of these, because it was the image was ghosting really bad on this before. And I've noticed that the contacts are a bit flatter and wider, and what I ended up with when I put solder on these pads was it's more narrow and sticks up a bit higher. So what I'm trying to do is basically just, sort of make these flatter on top. All of the solder I put on it. So hopefully the contact patch of each one of those little fingers is to sit on here a little bit wider. You can see that. That's definitely a lot smoother now. They're all sort of at the same height. But what I don't want to do is file into any of these traces here, so gotta be pretty careful. But yeah, you can see if I run my finger down this is not, it's kind of ugly. It's not smooth. I should have done this in the first place. The last time I took this apart, it was getting dark, and I just wanted to fix it. And I didn't spend enough time on it. Alright, let's see what happens. Because this screen, it stores, the mileage is stored in this screen. So if this thing is dead, you've lost your mileage basically. And you have to go find another one. Which is unfortunate. But I'm sure there are various other GM cars with this same screen that suffer from this exact same problem. Probably Oldsmobile Cutlass or yep. I'm sure there's some Pontiacs and other things that use this exact same screen. But be very careful pressing on this glass, because if you crack it, that's it. Also remember, because this thing is mounted in plastic, it has a mind of its own. So as it expands and contracts, it could lose the connection. So it was fine all summer until it got very cold here, and then it stopped working. Let's see. All right, we got it. If you turn off the light for a second, you'll see I still have some ghosting in my numbers down here, but I'm not really sure how to get rid of that. It just kind of goes away on its own once it's been turned on for a while, but it looks like it's staying on now. I don't know whether you have to send this out to get it rebuilt or something to fully get rid of the ghosting, but it's fine. It's got 198,100 and something miles on it, so I guess it's to be expected. I don't dare tighten them too much because I'm just going to break it if I do that. So the next step is we're going to put our screen cover back in, and we'll turn this off. Okay. Oops. I forgot, I gotta drop the cable down. So the cable goes through this little hole right here. You see it? So he just kind of slinks in there. Okay, now that's on. If you notice, my gauges, my voltage gauge and my temp gauge are now down. So what we need to do, unfortunately, when we put the display back on here, is we have to like get these into position. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to key on and then let the voltage gauge come up to here, so that, because it has to fit between this. Because right now, if I just try and slap that on there, I'm just gonna break the needle because it's not sitting between these two stops here. So let me key on. You'll see it comes up. Okay. And now I will probably have to mess with the temp gauge a little bit. The temp gauge on these are notoriously bad. You'll notice when I do this, if I start it, it does a sweep all the way to hot and then comes back. And every time you start the car, the needle will get like slightly off every single time when they get old like this. So you can see that my needle is not sitting on cold at the moment. What I could do is actually take it off and reset it at the moment. Because if you look how far it is down, that's not where it's supposed to be. So, oh no. So now what I want to do is, while the dash is turned on and we know the car is cold because it's not, hasn't really moved, we can actually set this right here. Okay. So that way, let's just check that. Put this back on. Yeah, that's in the lower half of the cold zone here. And that way we have an actual temperature reading and not nothing. Because right now, I mean, it has to get pretty warm for that even to like move. So this should hopefully fix that. All right, now what we want to do is reverse our order of parts installation. So this guy, this goes in. I'd really like to know who was in here before me that cracked all these pieces, broke this thing real bad, but it really stinks. All right, so that's back in. Now we're going to take our cover here, slide it into place. Normally, you see that clips in, but this side's just all messed up, so it's not going to clip in. You use the sort of wood screws that because this goes into this dash cover here. Now let's just do one more test on it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Wah wah. Yeah, it's not working. All right, gotta take her back out. Crap. All right, so we know we have a problem with the back plane here because if I push on this side, you can see it fade. It just turns off. All right, and if I push down on this side or push in on it, it comes back. So we know there's a loose connection somewhere for the power feed that runs this. Let's turn the dash off again. We're gonna take this out a second time because tightening this doesn't seem to work. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it inside. We're gonna build up the solder connections on each of these pads. And then we're going to file them flat again to hopefully make this work better. If you really think about it, it's kind of dumb that it's only held in the center. I'm just saying. Because it's basically like teetering on either side of this. The whole big thing I've read about is people complaining about these little, there's a little pad underneath here. You can see it, it's a little solder pad. And I've read that you can't run your soldering iron too hot, or you could risk this pad coming off and then you're really screwed. So we're gonna be careful. Well, as careful as we can. This seems to work pretty well as long as you don't put too much pressure on it. So we'll reflow this, clean it up with the file here, and then we'll try it again. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting this very carefully hot, and then I'm adding a little more in there. You see it. Okay. Doing the same thing to all of these, but you'll see, like, I got this little burr right there that we got to get off. Flow down onto that pad. Okay. Same thing with this guy. Don't want to put on too much because it'll flow off to the side, and that's not good because then we have to separate the contacts, and no one likes doing that. Oops. You can see kind of what happens here when you do this. You get like these little rises here at the end. So what I want to try and do is take those off. I still got a little bit of a, see that? I'm not sure I put enough on there. Maybe some of these other ones. I think I'm gonna have to put a little bit more on that one. How's that look? Not bad. There's a whole bunch of like solder powder now in here. We're definitely gonna have to clean this off. Made a mess. We'll have to take some alcohol or something and clean that. That looks a little bit better. Not really. Guess we'll see what happens. Alright, so it looks to me like, at least on this side, that one's not used. That one's not used. This one's not used. Neither is that one. This one's definitely used. That one's not used. That one's not used. So I think the plan probably should be to build up the ones that are used decently. All right, nice. You can see all the little stuff in there, so we're gonna have to take some Q-tips and some cleaner and just get in there. All right, next side. So you can see there's a lot more in use here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, look at that. Much better. That looks pretty good. Just use a little bit of contact cleaner on here. Get all the scoob off of it. Guess we'll test that out and see if it works. Alright, back to the garage? Yeah, back to the garage. Alright, so this is take 2. I'll stick her in here. Pull it down with the bolts. Oh, it went on and went off. I can try and tighten this a little bit more, but... Oh no. You know? You see, now it went off. If I let her off on this side a little bit. Release the pressure on it. That kind of works better, right? So I guess we can't really tighten it up too much over here. Alright, so I mean, we're still getting a sort of ghosted image, but do we put it back together, or do we? Guess we can leave it like that, see if it works. Sure. Alright, so now we're going to put our screen back in. But not like that. We're going to drop it down the little dude. There. Okay, now one thing I thought for the longest time, it must be nuts, but I've seen other people take these apart and there are no screws that go in there. There's holes, but there's no screw. And I don't know whether maybe everybody's I've ever seen take these apart have lost those screws, or they just didn't come with them from the factory. No idea. Good. It's still working. Test. Boom. That's not going anywhere. I've cycled the fuel pump 700 times. All right, gotta put the stuff back in there now. First thing we gotta do though is we need to set our gear shift correctly. So, I need that in there. You'll notice that the interlock doesn't work. Let's see. You're supposed to need to press the brake. Oh well. Now this needs a certain amount of preload here. So, what you have to do is you have to kind of pull on this so that you've got in park about there. Oops, that's too far over. Oh, nope. Right about there, I think. Okay. Alright, so we've got it clipped to the ring that rotates. Now we gotta take the turn the key on. And we gotta reverse, which has this huge amount of slop in it. Neutral. Also, that's drive. I always try and set the needle right in front of park because these things have a little bit of slop in them. So if I go into reverse here, you got a little bit of wiggle. There's neutral. There's drive. Drive, second, first. Back up to park. And otherwise, if you just put this on without pre-tensioning it, drive will be somewhere between neutral and drive. It's not, even when pushing down on it, it's still not lined up. So I usually do that with these because the linkages after 200,000 miles have a lot of play in them. Does the dash still work? Yay! All right. Now we gotta put the under stuff back in. This piece, I'm not gonna lie, it's really annoying. So you have to go in with this panel like this, and then over. And you gotta then line up your screws. So it goes like this. This is incredibly annoying because there's nothing to hold it in place. You just gotta kind of jam it in here. I really wonder, they were building these things at the factory. This is super fiddly. And maybe they just whammed the bolts in. I don't know. Now this thing, 3 clips, goes right up in there. Well, at least it should. There you go. And you got these 2 bolts underneath. There we go. All right, one more test. Yay, it's working. All right, so that's how you take the dash apart on well, not the entire dash, but just the gauge cluster apart on a 93 to 96 Caprice. Hopefully, if you have a similar car, like I mentioned earlier, like an Oldsmobile Cutlass or anything else with that same screen in it, you can kind of see what we did to get it to work, and hopefully you can bring yours back. Yeah, that's the end of the episode. Hope you liked it. Hope it helped you figure out if you are having the same problem. And yeah, see you next time.